So today we're going to still be looking at the personal and family budgets, but we're going to be finding the percent of specific items that is being put aside for their budget. So as a refresher, I put over here the percent proportion that I will use today when I'm finding the percent of the specific items. But before I do that, just a refresher of the vocabulary. We have the family budget. That's the money that a family sets aside for their spending. Personal budget is for an individual person. Income is the money that you take in from your job or whatever you are collecting money for. Expenses is money that's sent out for bills or you buy things. Fixed expenses, that's something that costs you the same amount each month. And variable expenses, that's a cost that changes each month. So if we go ahead and get started with the problems, we're looking at the Shelton family's monthly budget. And problem 1 says, determine the total of all the budgeted expenses. So the first thing we're going to need to do is add up all of the money in the pie chart. And you can see I listed them all out. Of course, you use a calculator, and you would get $6,000 is their budgeted expenses. When we get to number 2, it says to calculate the percent of the total budget for housing. So we're going to look at the pie chart and find housing. We have $1,500 for housing. We will set up a proportion, unless you know some other method, but the amount for housing is the part. So it will be $1,500 out of the whole amount, which is the $6,000 that we got when we added up all of the expenses. And then, of course, X over 100. Do your calculations, and you would get 25%. So 25% of their budget is put towards housing costs. Number 3, now we're going to calculate the percent of the total budget for food. So food over here is $600. So when I set up my proportion, it would say 600, because that's the part for food, out of the total or the whole amount of 6,000, and X equals 100. So I would do my cross multiplying, and when I do that, X will equal 10%. Of course, make sure you're using a calculator. Moving along to Anna's personal monthly budget. So let's see for Anna. Okay, so for Anna, it says determine the total of all her monthly budgeted expenses. So we're going to do the same as we did before, add up all of the numbers in the pie chart. She's got a lot of expenses, so be careful. Make sure you count how many items there are in the pie chart to make sure you have that many numbers so you don't miss out on anything. So for number 4, it comes out to be $2,000. So she has a budgeted expenses of $2,000. Now we're going to calculate the percent of the total budget for her housing. So let's see, her housing, she pays $650 a month. Now on these percent problems, I'm going to work these out a different way. Maybe this way might be a little bit easier for some of you compared to the proportion. It's up to you. So what I'm going to do is it's still going to be the part out of the whole. So it will be 650 out of the 2,000. And once you calculate that, then you're going to multiply by 100. So divide the first part. I put the parentheses in there, that do that part first, and then multiply your number by 100, and it will turn it into a percentage for you. So you're going to get 32.5%. So she's spending 32.5% on her housing each month. Number 6, calculate the percent of her budget for taxes. So when I look at the pie chart for taxes, she puts aside $300 for taxes. If I set this up like I just did on number 5, I'm going to do the part which is 300, out of the whole 2,000, and multiply by 100, and that would give me 15%. So 15% of her budget goes towards her taxes. Number 7, what percent of Anna's budget is for variable expenses? So the variable expenses, remember, are the amounts that could change each month. So we need to go through and look to see which ones are the variable expenses. So let's see, food, clothing, because those could change. She doesn't spend the same amount on each of those each month. Entertainment, gas, and one more, utility. So all of those from month to month, the amount is going to change. Since this problem is asking for the variable expenses and we have 5 different variable expenses, the very first thing we're going to need to do is figure out what part of her budget is the variable expenses. So we're going to add those 5 items up. When I add those 5 items up, I got $650. So it's going to be the part of the budget for variable expenses, $650 out of $2,000, which is the whole total budget, and times 100, just like I did on those previous two. And when I calculate that, it's going to give me 32.5% for her from her budget is going towards the variable expenses. Now over here on the bottom left, I did put the 2 possible setups that you can use. You can do the percent proportion to find the percent of what it's asking for, or you can do the other method that I did today, which is the part divided by the whole and then multiply by 100, and it will give you the percent. Good luck on today's assignment. Let me know if you have any questions.